Hi, I'm John Crawford and I'm blind. Okay, I just got out of the shower, so I'm a little hectic. But today I'm going to talk about a topic that people don't really think about until you actually start talking about it. And that is that growing up as a blind kid, I was pretty much like any other kid. And yeah, that seems kind of like duh when you first hear it. But then as you're going along, you talk to other people and they actually are like, you guys did that? Or um, how could you guys do that? Different stuff. They just don't really think about the fact that we do a lot of the same kinds of things that kids who have good vision do. We just often do them differently. Or sometimes it is an unfortunate fact that what you run into is people who don't really think of blind people or any kid with a disability as being a normal kid. So it surprises well, I hate to keep using the word, but it surprises a very surprising number of people that we like to do the same kinds of things that kids without disabilities do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that growing up at the Tennessee School for the Blind, some of the recreation and stuff that we did while we were out there. So my wife and I were talking about it, and she went there from K through 12. Well, not K through 12, but first grade through 12. And I went there from the latter part of my eighth grade year all the way through high school. We talked about the fact that they used to take us to do things like roller skating, and sometimes they would take us down to the video arcade. And you're thinking, you took a bunch of blind kids down to the video arcade? Well, yeah, blind kids like to play video games too. Some of the kids with better vision sometimes would get with the kids with no vision and they would play the games together. They would try to help the totally blind kids try to play. And they had a lot of fun doing that. I remember this one kid that we had in our school who played the piano exceptionally well. And he would come back to the dorm after spending an afternoon at the arcade and playing all of the music from the games he would be playing on the piano when he got back. So we had trips to the skating rink, trips to the arcade. There was I've talked at length about the orientation and mobility program at the Tennessee School for the Blind, and I talked briefly about mobility clearance, where if you were skilled enough in orientation and mobility when you were an older teenager and you had permission from your parents, you could then be allowed in your off time when you weren't in school to travel downtown on foot unsupervised. Where we were in Donaldson, Tennessee at that time, there was a relatively short walk from the school down to a little plaza, which actually had a health club and a bowling alley, several stores. I think there was some kind of place to eat over there. I know there was a Hardee's you could eat at and a Quincy's restaurant. There was a gas station where you could buy snacks. I mean, you could get off campus for a little bit and do stuff like that. And a lot of us kids like to get together and do that. I remember there's a long story about how I was hit by a truck and I wasn't allowed to travel downtown because of it, even though it wasn't my fault. I think that my O&M instructor was a little spooked by that. And I understand that. He was a very conscientious teacher. If a person had O&M and then they got their clearance, they could sign another student out. And I remember on multiple occasions, even if I didn't have clearance myself, if I could tag along with somebody who had mobility clearance, they could actually, another student with clearance could actually sign me out. I remember doing that on multiple occasions, and we would just knock around downtown Donaldson just like normal kids. We'd go to like I said, one girl in our school actually had a membership at the health club down there. There was a bowling alley down there. We had a lot of fun with stuff like that. We had pool tables in the dormitories, and I spent a lot of time doing that when I first got there because I really liked to play pool. We had a swimming pool, and we had a 2-lane bowling alley. There was actually a tandem bike that we would ride. Usually we picked the person with the better vision to ride out front and let the other person work the bike from the back. And I actually did that with my roommate one time. That was actually a lot of fun. And then, of course, there was the typical school life, just like any other school kid. We had our high school drama going on, and we had pranks that we pulled on each other. I mean, like, our nighttime dormitory supervisor had to live on campus because if anything happened at night, he had to be present. So there was a little house provided for the nighttime dorm supervisor at the time. And a couple of our guys in our dormitory got loose one night and went and rolled his house on Halloween. They were subsequently sent home after that. So there was high school drama, there was practical jokes, there was just a lot of the typical kid life. I mean, I remember they even attempted to take the little guys trick-or-treating the best they could. But it really surprises me how many sighted people don't realize that blind kids are basically regular kids. The only difference is they can't see. Okay, guys, those are just some of my quick thoughts. Tell us a little bit about some of the stuff you liked to do when you were growing up. Did you go hiking? Did you go camping, fishing? What did you guys like to do? Leave it in the comment section below, and we'll talk later. Good night.